Report. Very well. Good morning, and welcome to the Coast Guard Yard. Will the guests please take their seats? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Coast Guard Yard Change of Command Ceremony. At today's ceremony, Captain Matthew Lake, 42nd Commanding Officer of the Coast Guard Yard, will be relieved by Captain Vincent Skwarek. I am Commander T.J. Williams, Executive Officer of the Coast Guard Yard. It is my honor to be the Master of Ceremonies for this morning's event. At this time, we ask that all cell phones and electronic devices are turned off or placed in silent mode and remain so for the duration of the ceremony. Thank you. Military members may remain uncovered throughout the ceremony. All guests will be asked to stand and come to attention at certain portions of the ceremony. Please take your cues from me. The Coast Guard Yard is the service's only shipyard and the largest industrial facility in the Department of Homeland Security. The yard also serves as a base of operations, hosting 2,200 military and civilian personnel, the largest concentration of such personnel at any Coast Guard field unit. The tenant commands of the yard include Surface Forces Logistics Center, Sector Maryland, National Capital Region, and 11 other units and detachments. The men and women of the yard are proud to have built, renovated, and or maintained nearly every Coast Guard cutter that has been put to sea over the last 120 years. There are a few other units in the Coast Guard that have had such a profound and lasting impact to operations around the globe. Today, we have some very special guests in our audience who I'd like to recognize at this time. Our presiding official, Coast Guard's Deputy Assistant Commandant for Engineering and Logistics, CP4D, Mr. Albert Perry, Jr. Anne Arundel County Executive, Stuart Pittman. Deputy Director of the Governor's Office of Homeland Security, Mr. Cal Bowman. Deputy Commandant for Mission Support, Vice Admiral McAllister. Commander, Coast Guard District 1, Rear Admiral Tianson. Director of Operational Logistics, Rear Admiral Bubelis. Coast Guard Program Executive Officer and Director of Acquisition Programs, Rear Admiral Schofield. Chief Financial Officer, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Mr. Steve Rancona. Rear Admiral Haycock, retired. Rear Admiral Butt, retired. Representing Senator Carter, Heather Campbell. Representing Senator Chris Van Hollen, Mr. Bart Kennedy. Representing Congressman Sarbanes, Bridget Smith. Representing Congressman Rubersberger, Ashley Meyer. Representing Congressman Cummings, Felicia Lane. From former Yard Commanding Officers, Rear Admiral Roberto, retired, Captain Luca, retired, and Captain Lesher. In just a few moments, the formal ceremony will begin. At this point, it is my pleasure to introduce the spouses of Captain Lake and Captain Skwarek. Ms. Joanna Lake, Ms. Ruth Skwarek, I would also like to offer a warm welcome to Captain Lake's children, Alex and Ella, and his parents, Bill and Paula Lake, and Nelson Thomas. I also welcome all of Captain Lake's close friends also like to offer a warm and welcome to Captain Lake's children, Marika, Hannah, Annika, David, and also welcome all of Captain Skwarek's close family and friends. The change of command ceremony is a time-honored tradition. For those of you witnessing this kind of ceremony for the first time, it is customs and traditions that are documented in the earliest records of naval history. It is unique in that it is a transfer of total responsibility, authority, and accountability from one individual to another. It is a formal ritual that restates to the command personnel that there will be a continuity of command authority even when there is a change in the person designated as the commanding officer, and is customarily conducted before the assembled company of the commander, as well as honored guests and dignitaries. Regulations for change of command require that all hands muster at the time of the change. The regulations state that the officer to be relieved shall read his or her orders of detachment and turn over the command to the successor, who in turn reads his or her orders. The exchange of salutes between the two individuals, usually before their reporting senior, in this case, the Coast Guard's Deputy Assistant Commandant for Engineering and Logistics, affects the change in command. Assembled to your right is an honor platoon comprised of personnel representing all facets of the Coast Guard Yard. We have military members and civilian employees muster in formation to witness the change of command and to pay honor to Captain Lake as he ends his tenure as commanding officer, and to honor Captain Skwarek as he embarks on his tour as the new commanding officer. I would now like to introduce those already in position on the stage. Chaplain Michael Kennedy, Chaplain Corps, United States Navy. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the arrival of the official party and the presentation of colors. Please remain standing as the national anthem is sung by YN2 Amanda Carter. Honor platoon, attention. Now, Captain, United States Coast Guard, arriving. Now, Coast Guard Yard, arriving. Now, Coast Guard, Deputy Assistant Commandant for Engineering and Logistics, arriving. And salute. Ready to. Color Guard, present the colors.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleam, whose broad streets and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Chaplain Kennedy will now deliver the invocation.
Let us pray. Lord and God, today we come together with a time-honored tradition known as the chain of command. Today we want to celebrate the dedicated leadership of Captain Vincent Skwarek. We are thankful for the hard work and substantial accomplishments that have come about during his time as commanding officer. This morning, we also want to welcome Captain Vincent Skwarek as he assumes command of the Coast Guard Yard. Place your hand on him and give him wisdom equal to each task that lies ahead. Proverbs 18:10 says, "The name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run into it and are safe." Almighty God, may you receive all honor, glory, and praise. Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. It is a traditional part of the change of command ceremony for the commanding officer and the prospective commanding officer to conduct the personnel inspection. This is an opportunity for the prospective commanding officer to review the personnel who will be in his new command. Captain Skwarek will now accompany Captain Vincent in inspecting the honor platoon. Honor platoon, dismissed. We are extremely honored to introduce our presiding official for today's ceremony, Mr. Albert Curry, Jr. Mr. Curry is currently serving as the Coast Guard's Deputy Assistant Commandant for Engineering and Logistics, 64. He is responsible for all naval, aeronautical, civil, and industrial engineering and logistics for the service's 23,000 facilities, 250 ships, 1,800 boats, and over 200 aircraft. Mr. Curry leads over 5,000 personnel at Coast Guard headquarters and the 3 logistics centers: Aviation Logistics Center in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, the Shore Infrastructure Logistics Center in Norfolk, Virginia, and the Surface Forces Logistics Center in Baltimore, Maryland. A native of Edgefield, South Carolina, Mr. Curry received his Bachelor of Science degree in Electronic Engineering Technology from Savannah State University and his Master of Science degree in Systems Engineering from the Naval Postgraduate School. In August 1980, Mr. Curry was commissioned an officer in the U.S. Navy through Savannah State University Naval ROTC program and retired as a captain from the Navy in October 2006. He is a graduate of the Advanced Program Management course at the Defense Systems Management College, Fort Belvoir, and is a certified Department of Homeland Security and Department of Defense Acquisition Level 3 Acquisition Program Manager. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm Coast Guard Yard welcome to Mr. Albert Curry, Jr.
Thank you, TJ. Before I get started, I ask that you join me in recognizing the color guard, belonging to Carter for that beautiful rendition of the national anthem. Also an honor with them. So I heard the long list of distinguished guests before I came up here. I do not intend to repeat that list, but I do want to acknowledge my boss here. That's important. Also someone else who is near and dear to me in terms of my current position, that's really my brother. Ryan is also a former CD4 leader. He's also a former leader of the Coast Guard. He's been instrumental in a strong outline to their life. Two other people I would like to add to the list that I don't think we mentioned today. That currently reside in my spirit. That is the program manager of the Office of Naval Engineering, Captain Vincent Skwarek, and also the commanding officer of the Surface Forces Logistics Center, Captain Chad. So, distinguished guests, our partners, our friends, our guests, ladies, gentlemen, shipmate, and Coast Guard Yard personnel, good morning, and welcome to today's ceremony. I would like to recognize and thank Matt's family for their attendance. His wife Joanna, son Alex, and daughter Ella, his parents Paula and Bill, and his nephew Thomas. What you don't realize, Thomas is a future person. Additionally, I want to thank Vince's family for attending. His wife, Ruth, daughter, Rita, Anna, Annika, and his son, David. brother Paul is here as well. His in-laws Joe and Jan Commandant. His aunt and uncle, Beverly, and Ray. Can't read them all Ray. That's a relation. So Matt, I want to personally thank you for allowing me the opportunity to preside over today's ceremony. I am both honored and humbled by your invitation to today's change of command ceremony. Today we will witness a time-honored tradition of passing the leadership torch from Captain Lake to Captain Skwarek. The United States Coast Guard has a tremendous and precious reputation here in the Washington, D.C. area, and more importantly, with the American public, as one of the most effective and efficient organizations in our government. The same holds true for the Coast Guard's 120-year-old shipyard. I will refer to as Coast Guard Yard from this point forward. The Coast Guard Yard is the Department of Homeland Security's only shipyard and its largest industrial complex. One of only 5 public shipyards remaining in the United States of America. This 113-acre facility is also home to more than 2,000 full-time employees. Of those 2,000 employees, over 700 are Coast Guard Yard employees. The Coast Guard Yard workforce is comprised of a diverse mix of active duty, reserve military members, and federal civilian personnel, both of the general service and police grade category. Over the last 120 years history of this facility, it has designed, built, maintained, and renovated Coast Guard cutters, boats, and weapon systems. It has also maintained and renovated vessels and systems from the Navy, the Army, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, state and local governments, and foreign militaries. With the exception of the latest delivered assets, the Coast Guard Yard workforce is incredibly proud of the fact that nearly every Coast Guard cutter in the past century has been built, renovated, and are maintained by the Coast Guard Yard. And nearly all of the Coast Guard cutter crews have benefited in some way by the incredible work done by members of the Coast Guard family. Coast Guard Yard family. If you ask Captain Lake about the history of the Coast Guard Yard, he would quickly tell you that in addition to Coast Guard Yard role as a shipyard, this facility was once home for the Coast Guard Academy, a recruit training center, a technical training center, and the Coast Guard Research and Development Center. The Coast Guard Yard has assumed many roles and continues to evolve with time and delivery of new assets. As Commanding Officer, Captain Lake has not only cared for this proud tradition, he has also raised the bar. During this tenure, was quickly focused on stewardship and business improvements. As a result of his exceptional high performance in integrating business and industry practice into Coast Guard Yard operations, he was awarded the 2018 Institute for Defense and Business General Total Award for Business Acumen and Defense Government. He expanded Coast Guard Yard portfolio from projects from $88 million at the beginning of fiscal year 2016 to $113 million in fiscal year 2019. He achieved a 95.7% production labor learning curve for the 140-foot Bay-class tugboat service life extension project, yielding $7 million in savings, which was subsequently used to improve the safety and reliability of the fleet motor generator sets and other propulsion equipment. Through improved workforce productivity, workforce accountability, and unity of effort among the Coast Guard Yard employees and customers, he lowered the Coast Guard Yard composite labor rate 2 years in a row to levels last seen in fiscal year 2013. The first time this has been accomplished, and that is 40 years. Saving more than $6 million in a two-year period allowed for more maintenance to be completed for less dollars. Captain Lake and his team negotiated and engineered upgrades to the yard 4-megawatt landfill gas power plant, modifying the plant to burn a mixture of natural gas and landfill methane. This effort reduced operating costs, improved plant reliability by more than 20%, upgraded capacity to supply more than 85% of Coast Guard Yard electricity needs, and saved more than $9 billion in life cycle operating costs. This effort also garnered positive immediate interest in won a DHS-wide award for environmental stewardship. We developed a multi-tier strategy to dispose of the 9,700-ton Oak Ridge floating market. Ultimately, Oak Ridge was sold on the open market, garnering $1.4 million in sales proceeds for the Coast Guard, and this eliminated a huge potential environmental liability. He also improved Coast Guard and partner agency operational readiness. Also, during his tenure, he completed major maintenance availabilities, service life extension, and dry dock availabilities on the 52 Coast Guard cutters, 2 Navy Yard patrol crafts, and 2 naval ships. Proving the flexibility of Coast Guard Yard, Captain Vincent's team conducted emergency dry dock availability on the 3 110-foot Allen class patrol boats and the leading endurance cutter headed in land. These efforts include the material commission and readiness of the entire 225-foot General class cutter class, the 140-foot Bay class cutters, and the 87-foot coastal patrol boats, as well as several major cutters, including the Coast Guard cutter. The Coast Guard Yard effort during Captain Vincent's tenure epitomizes the Commandant's call to action for a ready, relevant, and responsive Coast Guard. Additionally to the day-to-day work at the Coast Guard Yard, Captain Vincent deployed teams across the U.S. to address the emergent needs of the operational commanders and in support of foreign militaries. Fulfilling Coast Guard high strategic operational priorities, example of this talent was clearly displayed during the restoration of board planes on the Juniper class cutters after months of performance problems that the original equipment manufacturer was unable to repair. He also deployed over 20 teams installing 76mm gun weapon systems and gun on Coast Guard cutters, 2 Polish naval frigates, and as well as overall a solid Navy weapon system. As a visionary, he garnered Coast Guard, DHS, the administration, and ultimately congressional support to appropriate $22.5 million in fiscal year 2019 to upgrade Coast Guard facilities to support depot-level maintenance of the Coast Guard fast response cutter for the next 20 years. This initiative is expected to significantly improve operational readiness for decades. Also, we want to continue Coast Guard Yard ordnance shop, triple its overall capability of the Mark 38 25mm machine gun system, and conducted the first U.S. government overhaul of the Mark 110 57mm gun weapon system. That system is currently installed on both Coast Guard cutters and Navy ships. We oversaw the conversion and delivery of 8 decommissioned 110 Allen-class patrol boats to the Republic of Georgia, Costa Rica, Pakistan, and Ukraine. An innovator. We spearheaded efforts to upgrade Coast Guard Yard authorizing statute for the first time since 1949. Provide a new cost-plus incentive fee for work. This new modification enabled Coast Guard Yard to create a new set of monetary incentives for hourly employees linked directly to cost and or schedule performance. Recently tested, this new approach resulted in a 20% reduction in the cost and time it took to overhaul the Mark 38 25mm weapon systems. We developed and implemented plans to reshape 15% of the entire Yard workforce, leveraging the Yard's unique statutory authority to manage position and growth, and reestablish a sustainable workforce pyramid for the civilian workforce. The This long-range plan enabled the Yard to lower its labor rates, increase the capacity to respond to growth work without schedule extension, allowed the creation of a permanent second shift, reallocated personnel to high-demand trades to eliminate production hours. He implemented the fourth part of the logistic program with the General Service Administration. This program streamlined material flow and availability across the coast of the Yard. This program reduced retail inventory and corresponding Yard balance sheet liability by more than $2 billion, while concurrently freed contracting resources for other high-priority mission support requirements. This resulted in an annual recurring savings of over $3.5 million, a reduction in inventory, and reduced delays for lack of material availability. He developed, implemented, and matured the 87-foot recurring depot availability program, formerly called PARTNER. He delivered 36 patrols out of this program. This innovative program involved improved slots, dedicated capital infrastructure, and innovative work processes saved more than $2.2 million per year. It gave back to the Operation Commandant more than 300 days of patrol boat operational time, and significantly improved crew up tempo across the service. Due to the people. He successfully developed and implemented plans to expand the Coast Guard workforce by 30% over 3 years in order to meet near and long-term production goals. He developed a whole of the Yard effort to recruit the best employees in the Yard. He developed 3 highly innovative internship programs that substantially improved workforce diversity. 2 of these programs were completely funded by community investment and local government. These programs have been benchmarked by other government agencies and the Commandant Personal Readiness Task Force. As a result of this effort, Coast Guard Yard recruitment efforts have been publicly recognized by Congressman Sarbanes, Congressman Commandant, and Lieutenant Governor Rutherford, as well as city and Baltimore officials and regional media for community development efforts. One of the things that Captain Lake is particularly proud of are the exceptional people that serve alongside the Coast Guard Department. Over the past 3 years, more than 30 members of the Yard family have won national level awards, including 7 Coast Guard Civilian of the Year awards and 4 HSY Personnel Awards in New York. So that's a whole list of what Captain Lake has done for the Coast Guard Yard. He's a visionary, doesn't hesitate to lead in the front, and flies traditionally above the tree. So that, please do come on stage for some more.
Guests, please rise for the formal award presentation. Military guests, attention to award citation. Citation to accompany the award of the Legion of Merit to Captain Matthew W. Lake, United States Coast Guard. Captain Lake is cited for outstanding meritorious service as commanding officer of the Coast Guard Yard, Baltimore, Maryland, from July 2016 to June 2019, demonstrating visionary leadership of the Department of Homeland Security's largest industrial base and only shipyard. He expertly guided 675 military and civilian personnel executing the Coast Guard's most mission-critical cutter renovations and major weapon systems overhauls. Captain Lake delivered responsive mission support to 2,200 military and civilian personnel from 14 tenant commands and oversaw $1 billion capital plant on 115 acres, including dry docks, workshops, a renewable energy plant with 94 buildings. He developed and drove continuous improvements to the 87-foot coastal patrol boat recurring depot availability program, delivering cutters on time and saving $2.2 million per year and improving op tempo across the service. tripling the amount of the yard's $25 million, tripling the output of the yard's 25 millimeter Mark 38 gun ordnance overhaul capability. He enabled the service to increase by fivefold the number of weapon systems overhauled for Navy combatants, improving national fleet readiness. Captain Lake implemented 3 innovative internship programs and 30% workforce expansion plan, which enhanced community partnerships, increased workforce diversity, and enabled labor rates and increased yard capacity. His astute political acumen garnered executive and legislative branch support to realize legislative changes that will have a lasting impact by expanding operational authorities, enabling an innovative cost incentive contracting approach, culminating in a $22.5 million appropriation to upgrade the 154-foot fast response cutter maintenance facilities. Captain Lake's ability, diligence, and devotion to duty are most heartily commended and are keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Coast Guard. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
So I shall conclude Captain Skwarek. Your course with success. And I had a tremendous successful tour leading the Coast Guard Yard, your waterfront operation as the recent Coast Guard Professional Manager. First and foremost, I want to you and your family. Your wife Ruth, daughters Rika, Anna, Annika, and your son David. It's great to see you guys again in this school today at this special milestone of the father's career. Your support and understanding during these past 4 years have been a tremendous thing. Looking forward, I know you will continue to provide the same level of support in this new position of expanding responsibility.
I wish I could tell you that the job he's about to do is less stressful, and he doesn't have to work nearly as hard as he did before. The truth is, the hard work will not be with this job. But knowing Vince will look down this world, so thank you for being here today, and I thank you in advance for your steadfast support for your lesson in life. Vince, your personal commitment to others is clearly evident in your leadership as the Master Commander. We have served the Coast Guard workforce well, ensuring their interests and needs were met while they carried the increased load on the workday. As Commanding Officer, your commitment to serve will not stop at the workflow. You will be called upon to provide continuous and selfless service to the engineering community, Coast Guard family, to customers, operational commanders, and other critical Coast Guard stakeholders required to continue Coast Guard success. Our ultimate father and mother tour. Stay proficient at your craft. Always set your standards high and be willing to take on the challenges. Don't view your challenges as obstacles, but view them as opportunities. Growth comes from dealing with adversity and challenges, not from being able to accomplish. What you do every day matters. The quality of your work matters. The way you report yourself matters. Remember, the people, they are the number one asset. In closing, today we say farewell to Captain Vincent Skwarek as he departs his assignment as the 42nd Commanding Officer of Coast Guard Yard. With the strong support of the Coast Guard family, Matt definitely raised the bar. The footprint he leaves behind
shoes hard to fill. But we know you will see the same success as this Coast Guard career continues at Coast Guard headquarters, working on new cutter and boat acquisition. Captain Lake, thank you for your service. Captain Skwarek, welcome aboard as the 43rd Commanding Officer of the Coast Guard. The men and women of the Coast Guard have already extended their leadership. As the 43rd Commanding Officer of the Coast Guard, I know the Coast Guard will continue to thrive under your guidance and leadership. Thanks, and for your service. Congratulations. For all of you in attendance today, thank you for being here. This is the close.
Now, Mr. Ron Beans will make a few short remarks and present a gift to Captain Lake on behalf of the men and women of the Coast Guard Yard.
Hello, everyone. When you have a speaking engagement, don't forget your glasses. I already messed up. Roger Taylor's happy to have us. Greetings. What a great day it is today. If you work in the Coast Guard, you know every day here is a great day. I'm the waterfront spokesperson for the presentation. The gift of waterfront appreciation. However, I will first go through 378 great things Captain Lake has done for the waterfront. I didn't. All right, God. For you, we'll skip. However, before we proceed to the presentation, we'd like to take this time just to discuss your waterfront evaluation. It covers a lot of covers your normal items and then some special. My apologies, as some of these category ratings will be repetitive. My job knowledge exceeds. Leadership exceeds. Customer service exceeds. Communication exceeds. Here's an interesting one that's not on all evaluations. I was mentored, and one of the things we do in the yard, a job worth doing is worth doing right. And y'all heard talk about that. So, calculate exceeds. Timeliness and quantity of work. We believe that it exceeds rating fails to diminish what has been accomplished in your time here at work. Special one. Services group has been able to pay 80 days a week when we do. A structural group can run 3 shifts for 30 hours a day to compensate for growth work. The mechanical group is capable of squeezing in emergency casualty repairs as needed with no impact to the waterfront. I want to give a shout out to the product line for rolling those 270s back in here. On schedule or casualty repair, we're very appreciative. The electro group was asked to take on more road work. Installs at vessels, home ports, again, with no impact to waterfront schedule. 8 trips are scheduled in July. In my speechwriter notice, I have an interesting, it says, review captain's motivating mentoring conversation and had a Star Wars trip. So I remember this conversation. It was a very casual conversation. Then suddenly, I thought I was talking to Luke Skywalker, And he said, Ron, don't let any of those electronics road trips slip away. And don't let any of the waterfront schedules slip. And that's called a Jedi mind trick. So today I promised the co-worker who participated in wrapping some things that I was throwing a Star Wars strips. That was the last minute act. So bravo Zulu to you, Captain, on the category of timeliness and quantity. When a captain of the yard excels, there are always a new category that we rate them on in the waterfront. I'm going to bring a previous example. Captain Lesher, are you out there? Hey, Captain Lesher. Captain Lesher was rated on me personally. He's a devoted Steelers fan. He was well received and liked by all. Even being a Steelers fan, that is not an easy task at all. However, Captain, that is not your category. Captain Lake, the new category you are being rated on is momentum. Mass times velocity. This is my best scenario of how to put your actions into that category. The magnitude of your actions, direction, and the velocity of their implementation has been momentous. As you depart, you leave a weight of momentum, and the waterfront is most appreciative. Thank you, Captain. Can't thank you enough for that. And the waterfront goes the same way. General Foreman, please come forward and help present gifts of appreciation for the waterfront. The teak box has been fitted with Eagle Hall plate and ribbons displaying the following items. Present pen. A teak pen engraved with the quote, "If you want to change the world, pick up your pen." Please present the teak watch. When the box is open, the following quote is above this watch. Change will not come if we wait for some other person or some other time. Please present the citizen watch. When this box is open, the following quote: the truest calculations will stand the test of time. Captain, if you will notice, this watch has a circular aviation slide rule. This is challenging. The circular slide rule. We figure while commuting to DC or on your bike rides here, you should be able to squeeze out some calculations. Pretty nice job. Captain, these gifts from the waterfront commemorate what you have accomplished at the yard and what we believe you will continue to do for the Coast Guard. Thank you for your service.
Now, let's give a warm Coast Guard Yard welcome to the 42nd Commanding Officer of the United States Coast Guard Yard, Captain Matthew W. Lake.
right, good morning, everybody. Can you hear me? All right, very good. Make sure everybody's, still alive down there. Okay. First, I want to thank very much presiding official Mr. Curry. Thank you for your leadership over the years, sir. Your interest, and Mr. Curry is definitely an advocate of the yard, which is much appreciated and highly appropriate. He's presiding over the ceremony today. I also want to thank some of our distinguished guests, Anne Arundel County Executive, Mr. Pittman, Deputy Director, Maryland Office of Homeland Security, Mr. Bowen, Vice Admiral McAllister, Admiral, senior executives, and staff from Senator Cardin's office, Senator Van Hollen, Senator Sarbanes, Congressman Rivers-Berger, Congressman Cummings, and staff from the Office of Governor Hogan. I also want to thank Walt Brooks and Charlie Householder, current union president for Baltimore Area Metal Trades Council and former union president. We have a great relationship with the union here, and that's one of the reasons why we're able to accomplish so much as an organization. I also want to thank our commanding officers, fire yard COs and XOs, and other distinguished guests. Importantly, though, I want to thank my family. So I wouldn't be here today. Stop making that face, Ellen. I wouldn't be here today without the dedication of my family, not just while serving at the Coast Guard Yard, but throughout my career. Joanna, Alex, Ella, Mom, Dad, of course, Thomas. I've got something to hand to you real quickly. All right, so I would also be remiss if I didn't thank the folks involved in today's change of command: Lieutenant Dolan, Kristen Sober, Petty Officer Seabury, Teresa Bird, Petty Officer Amanda Carter, as well as Chaplain. Thank you very much for being here and supporting me today. I also want to thank people who were instrumental in my leadership journey in the Coast Guard. Coast Guard Academy Class 95 classmates who are here today. Very much appreciate your presence. MIT classmate Jeremy Pam. Master Chief Dale Jacobs, who I've known since I was 19 years old. Admiral Butt, Admiral Haycock, Admiral Rabigo, Admiral Lewis, Admiral Tianson, Admiral Schofield, Captain Lesher, Lisa August, who I saw back there. Fellow CJ-82 Seagulls and prior shipmates. And certainly John Regaw. I wouldn't be here in this job without John, but that's a story for the reception, not for you. So I also want to thank some of our local partners, most especially Newer Academy Board Advisors and Principal. I see a number of you here. Anne Arundel County Workforce Development Corporation and Public Schools. Ivan Kaplan from Maritime Alliance. Lisa Swoboda and Thomas Evans from Maryland Department of Commerce. Great advocates for the yard. I also want to thank some of our friends that are here today. The Odoms, as well as the Last Colas. Thanks for taking the time. And I want to thank some great, strong leaders that we've had in both Surface Forces Logistics Center, because as Ken Burgess points out, the yard works for SFLC, right, sir? So some great leaders in SFLC and CP45, including Chris Webb and his staff, Admiral Schofield, Captain Jacoby, Ken Burgess, Master Chief Valente, and team members of the Surface Force Logistics Center Executive Steering Committee. From the yard, there's just an incredible number of people to thank, but I want to most especially thank Commander T.J. Williams, the current Executive Officer, my right-hand man, and Commander Chris Wolf in the audience, who's a prior XO. And finally, I want to thank and point out Captain Skwarek. So, as alluded to before, I've known Captain Skwarek for about 25 years plus. He's an officer of incredibly great character, a strong and compassionate leader, somebody that really believes in the yard. And for those of you who know about the yard, that is probably one of the most important aspects of being a good commanding officer, is understanding what this place and what this place is. And so, Vince, enjoy the next 3 years. So I want to shift gears a little bit and talk, change the subject a bit. So back in 2016, July 2016, I relieved Captain Lesher as Yard CEO. And for those of you who might remember, I talked about the fact that the yard is not just a place. It's got its own spirit. It's almost a living and breathing thing. It's got an incredibly proud history, which we talked about earlier. But during my remarks back in 2016, I talked about the yard as having a soul. And that soul is built upon all the people that have served here over the decades. The hundreds and thousands of people that have come before us. And also the millions of people that have benefited by the work done here by the Yard family. So now that I've been here for about 3 years, and have some insight into what that soul really looks like, I'm going to talk about the characteristics of that soul, what it means to me, and what it's built of. And in doing so, I'm going to ask some people to stand. And before I do that, Honorable Two, can you have a seat if you don't mind, if there's some seats up there? There are a couple. So the first thing I'll talk about is service, a characteristic of the soul of the Yard. Nearly 40% of the Yard workforce are active duty members or have served in the military, but it's more than that. We have combat veterans as Yard employees that have served in every conflict since the Spanish-American War in the history of the Yard. These people have seen people give their lives and they've served their nation with distinction. We have some of those folks here today. James Brunson, please stand here. James served in the U.S. Army for 31 years. He fought in Iraq, Kosovo, and Afghanistan, including time in the Army Special Forces. Larry Finney, U.S. Navy SEAL. He fought in the invasion of Grenada and SEAL Team 4. Also Stafford. As a young man, Halson fought in the battles in the jungles of Vietnam in the legendary 101st Airborne Division. After he left the Army, he went to work for Sparrows Point Shipyard and ultimately the Coast Guard Yard. These are people who know what it's like to lose friends and comrades in the field of battle. They know what it's like to risk their lives in service to their nation and serve their country. Service is not just a slogan or a simple idea. It permeates who we are as an organization as the Coast Guard Yard. And it puts everyday adversity in perspective. Heroism. The Yard has a long legacy of heroes, including some of our service's most decorated and revered members and officers. And we have heroes here today. DC-2 Summers, step forward. In May 2018, he responded to a request for assistance from Station Curtis Bay after a person had fallen off the Curtis Creek Bridge and hit a bridge abut and was critically injured. DC-2 Summers, an EMT, took charge and scene as incident commander, provided first aid, stabilized the victim, got emergency medical services, and saved that person's life. HS-2 Karina Hawkins, while she was temporarily assigned on Coast Guard Cutter Eagle, a cadet fell from one of the yard arms while underway and was critically injured. She provided emergency medical services, stabilized the cadet, and arranged for a medevac, saving this individual's life. Dedication to duty. This is a part of the soul of the Yard that defines absolutely who we are. Charlie Zerby. Charlie worked here for 49 years, worked his way up as a WG-5 ship fitter helper in the 1960s, building the 210-foot medium endurance cutters, some of which are still in service today. He served here for nearly 5 decades and he touched every single cutter that went to sea during that time, ultimately retired as GS-15 production manager, the senior most civilian in the shipyard. Mike Thomas. Mike worked in the Yard for several decades, serving as a role model to many people in ensuring safe and effective operations of crane, ship lift parts, and mobile equipment. But even after retirement, Mike came in working free of charge. By the way, that's how we reduced our labor rates. He helped out whenever we needed help because he wanted to do it, because of his dedication. Seaman Giles. Seaman Giles, in 2 separate cases, she works for the Yard Police Department. There were 2 stolen vehicles, criminals trying to access the front gate, 2 separate cases. She worked with other members of the Yard Police Department, the Baltimore City Police Department, to apprehend the criminals before they could access the base, arrested the individuals, and protected the yard workforce. And she did that with less than 1 year of the Coast Guard. That's dedication to duty. Transformational leadership. The yard has reinvented itself countless times over the last 120 years to best meet the needs of the Coast Guard and the nation. And that's made only possible by transformational leaders. People like John Bernal, Ron Viance, Adam Cole. Those three started a revolution in the yard, not the kind where you overthrow the CO, the good times. Okay? They totally transformed the way that the yard executed the business, and most importantly, they instilled a sense of responsibility and accountability down to the lowest levels of the shipyard. You walk around the shipyard today, you ask a WG5 shipfitter helper what they're doing, they understand how they are impacting Coast Guard operations around the globe. Their work, they save tons of money, they improve the productivity of the workforce, and they also change the way our organization views the Coast Guard yard. Ingenuity and professionalism. This is a hallmark of the yard. Everybody knows that there's literally nothing installed on a ship that the Coast Guard yard can't fix, right? Right, Roger? But it's more than that. Fireman Morris. Fireman Morris works in the barracks that were built in 1936. One would think as a non-rate working in the barracks can only have so much impact, but that's not the case. Fireman Morris handcrafted furniture and artwork out of leftover shipping crates. He also helped create a library named after the first Coast Guard female engineer, Myrtle Hazard, who also happens to be a Baltimore native. His work is going to have impact to generations of Coast Guard men and women that come through the shipyard and have their ships worked on. Tim Deanne, Kevin Center. Tim and Kevin are the undisputed experts in all manner of hydraulic deck equipment, propeller systems, and more. They are called upon, hey Kevin, you gotta stand up. I know you're a little bit long. Come on. There we go. So one of my favorite stories with these guys is, so Coast Guard cut a wall out of 225-foot moving tender, was down and out of service, on and off again for a year. Some crane casualties. Original equipment manufacturer couldn't figure it out. All of our best technical experts in the Coast Guard couldn't crack it. We sent Kevin down with, I think, 1 or 2 guys. Within a week, he had the ship up and running again, out to sea, and the crew was entirely trained. So that is professionalism. Similarly, Ricardo Mariano is the foremost expert in the Coast Guard on electric motor and control systems. His advice is sought out by people all across the Coast Guard. He was responsible for upgrading all of the electrical systems on the entire 140 ice-breaking fleet, which will have impacted billions of dollars worth of economic commerce for decades. Lieutenant Commander John Adams. There's a Lieutenant Commander filling the commander job, one of the most difficult facility engineering positions in the Coast Guard, doing it with amazing professionalism and expertise. Sarah Wickenheiser, one of our best engineers in the Coast Guard. By the way, 2017 Federal Engineer of the Year. One of the stories I like telling about Sarah was when the NOAA ship Thomas Jefferson came in. They were doing some modifications to the hull structure and were delivered a set of prints that were supposedly approved by the American Bureau of Shipping Classification Society. Not so much. Then, had we installed those drawings, the ship would have basically cracked in half. So Sarah figured out by looking at the print something was wrong, came up with design modifications, and saved NOAA millions and millions of dollars and probably hundreds of days of lost operational time. Servant leadership, another characteristic of the soul yard. Members of the yard understand that serving those who work forward with you is of incredible importance. Yard retirees, Bob and Sharon Bird, Dominic and Joanne Grelly, who I see, Ken and Deborah Dunner. These folks spent hundreds of man-hours of their own time, volunteers, putting together they went through tens of thousands of photo negatives from World War II to present. And they identified the top 700 or so digitized and did the research and helped stand up our yard museum that's located down the waterfront. And that work will help make sure the legacy of the yard is not forgotten anytime soon. John Downs, where are you? Stand up, John. John served with the yard for 37 years and serves as Group General Foreman. John was certainly a technical expert, but what people knew John for the best was his dedication to the people that worked for him. Now, John, he looks like kind of an intimidating guy, right? He's not big. The thing that gets John soft is talking about the people that work for him and caring about everybody that works for him. That brings a tear to his eye, and that's an incredible sign of a servant leader. Perseverance. Every day, members of the Yard doing incredible things, sallying forth, sometimes the most challenging of circumstances. Here's some examples. AK break. AK transitioned from teaching music to federal service, working her way up from GS6 records technician to GS13 supervisor and accountant in 9 years. Along the way, she earned her MBA, she was almost done with her CPA license, and she was recently named the Coast Guard Civilian of the Year. Her advice is routinely sought out by some of the most senior civilians in the Coast Guard. Importantly, she's also the mother of 2 teenagers. Nelson Sapphire. Nelson, stand up. Nelson immigrated from Chile with only a shirt on his back. He learned to weld, built a career at the Yard, started a family, and sent his kids through college. Now he has a daughter working for a U.S. Senator and son with a PhD in computer science. Tyrus Dove. Ty grew up in a neighborhood in Hampton Roads, Virginia, stricken by gang violence and poverty. He persevered, moved to Baltimore, and became a trades trainee at the Coast Guard Yard, moving his way up, ultimately as a paint shop supervisor. Along the way, he was married, raising 4 kids, and giving his kids opportunities that he fully dreamed of as a kid. Selflessness. Selflessness defines the soul of the Yard on so many levels. It's not just the fact that the Yard's giving back and doing some amazing services to humanity in our country, but the way that the Yard employees give themselves on a daily basis. Chief Tiffany Lewis. During the recent 35-day government shutdown, she helped create a base food pantry feeding active duty members that were working without pay, but it was more than that. She went out and found every single young mother of infant kids, made sure they had baby formula, diapers, and other essentials to care and feed their children. The entire workforce didn't have money, weren't getting paychecks. She did that in a way that protected their dignity and their privacy. Monica McLeod, Tim Fields, Claude Lamb, and Mike Galante. Stand, guys. Lamont, Tim, and Mike, and Claude were instrumental in advancing our new internship programs. They made sure that interns were trained. They gave them life skills. They made sure they had bus fare and money for meals before they got their first paycheck. They worked with Baltimore City and Anne Arundel County officials and mentored students in the schools. They worked with the kids, and they worked as almost as father figures. Importantly, they changed the lives of 40 kids' lives forever. My favorite story about this, Lamont McLeod, stand up again. Lamont went to school at New Air Academy, where we have one of our partnerships back a long time ago, right? He went to middle school there. He stood up a new program at New Air Academy. He volunteered to lead that program. And I remember him talking to me about what he told his family, about how proud he was to come back to that school and give back to those kids, and give them opportunities to succeed. Thank you. Jan Blevins. Jan coordinated charity drives. He inspired hundreds to raise funds, led to an overall contribution of $14,000 to needy families in inner city Baltimore. In addition to his charity work, he also worked an average of 40% overtime, leading from the front, leading his people, making sure they understood the importance of the work that they were doing. Roger Taylor. During government shutdown, Roger led grassroots efforts involving more than 100 families and Yard employees to ensure more than 200 junior enlisted members from Baltimore units and visiting card crews had access to free food and other necessities during the shutdown. He was also instrumental in standing up our mentorship and training programs. And what I remember most about was incredibly difficult. He held his family together and was the bedrock during that incredibly challenging time. Family, that is so fundamental to the soul of the Yard. It's a term that I've seen used liberally throughout the civilian and military workforce. Not so here. Walt Brooks. Walt's a fourth-generation Yard employee. His great-grandfather started working here in 1928, and every generation since then. We have multiple generations throughout the Yard, like the Cuffleys, the Hares, the Driscolls, Torrance, Island family, many more. They provide a sense of community that's indescribable. The way that first hit home to me, though, was within a few months of arriving to this command, Norm McDonald passed away. He was a 32-year Yard employee that worked here and was loved by everybody. He worked his way up in the shipyard. Everybody knew Norm. So he lived in South Jersey, and during his funeral, everybody came over from the Yard. Afterwards, he had a reception over at his house, or his family had a reception at his house, at his farmhouse in Jersey. There was a big barbecue in his backyard, and it was literally like a family reunion with Coast Guard Yard members. So that, my friends, provides just a small glimpse of the soul of the Yard. The fact is the Yard is comprised of seemingly ordinary people that are not ordinary at all. There are literally tens of thousands of stories just like the ones I told you, which is why the Yard is so strong, resilient, and will be here long after all of us are long gone. In my mind, there is absolutely no greater honor and privilege to be part of this family and this legacy to serve alongside these incredible people. Semper Paratus, and God bless the United States of America. I will now read my orders.
Military guests, attention.
From the Commander of Personnel Service Center, United States Coast Guard, to Captain M.W. Lane, subject orders, new assignment. On relief duties, commanding officer, Coast Guard Yard, proceed to report to the U.S. Coast Guard headquarters and acquisition director.
Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Skwarek will now read his orders.
From Commander Personnel Services Center, United States Coast Guard 2, Captain V.J. Skwarek, subject orders, new assignment. Proceed to report for duty as commanding officer, Coast Guard Yard.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Let's give a warm Coast Guard welcome to the 43rd Commanding Officer of the United States Coast Guard Yard, Captain Vincent Skwarek.
Good morning, Coast Guard Yard, and what a glorious morning it is. One thing that I've been continually impressed with over the last 3 years of working with Captain Lane is a singular ability to share the Coast Guard Yard's story. Many of us here have been on shipyard tours with Captain Lane, and he always brings out new nuggets from the yard history and background, and he shares them. He is able to weave together our history in a way few others can, in a way I've never seen anyone else do. And we've seen that on display today, the way he's weaved that tapestry, so thank you, Matt, very much for doing that for us. What a wonderful ceremony today in the life of the Coast Guard Yard, and I'd like to thank everyone who's put in countless hours trying to prepare for and execute this event. EXO, Lieutenant Dolan, Wine Once Bree Petty Officer Carter with that glorious rendition of the national anthem, thank you. That was very powerful, especially because it was written here in Baltimore. Thank you. The color guard, the muscles to set everything up, all the week-long briefs and various things that went on behind that in Chapel. Thank you. Your efforts are on display and reflect so well here on the Coast Guard Yard. There's many, many guests here. We've gone over the number of names. I won't recount those, but I would just like to say, especially for the retired former Coast Guard Yard employees, thank you for coming here today. Thank you for coming back home to the Coast Guard Yard. The Coast Guard Yard that you had a hand in shaping, and that continues to serve our nation. And we hope that you're able to remember some of your past experiences here while you're here today. I would also like to thank Mr. Perry for presiding over this ceremony. Having worked with Mr. Perry for a number of years, I've appreciated your support and counsel, sir. It is unfortunate that my mother and father aren't here today. They passed away many years ago. Would have enjoyed being here. My father, though, was a Navy man, and there was always a healthy tension in our family between the Navy and the Coast Guard. And my father would often comment how the Navy ran something well and the Coast Guard faltered. My father was a particular critic of senior Coast Guard officers when comparing them against senior naval officers. So, Mr. Curry, thank you as a retired naval officer. You were able to preside over this ceremony and ensure it was done the Navy way, the right way. Thank you so much. I want to thank my extended family and friends and classmates who have made the journey here to Baltimore, and to my family who braved the traffic. I know it was a tough trip. I would like to especially thank my wife Ruth and my daughters Marika, Anna, Annika, and my son David for your faithfulness and encouragement together in this journey. Kids, thank you for understanding when I called or texted and said, I'll be home, but I'm running a little late. I really appreciate your patience with me many, many times. You guys have absorbed a lot. And Ruth, thank you for your thankful prayers to the Lord for encouragement, both in times of need and in times of plenty. Finally, I'd like to thank Captain Lake for his leadership, mentoring, and hard work over these past 3 years we've worked together. You, sir, have been an incredible Coast Guard Yard advocate. You've set the bar. This resonates. You've heard other people say, you've set the bar very high for everyone that follows in your wake. Your contributions to the Coast Guard Yard and the service have been out of all proportion. You have always put the interests of the Yard at the forefront of your efforts. And we are excited to see that you're going to Washington, D.C. to take over surface acquisition portfolio management for the Coast Guard. And with your deep experience here at the Yard and your understanding of the critical role that we play, we know that you'll be a good advocate for the Coast Guard Yard in Washington. Joanna, Alex, Ella, we wish you the best in this transition, this new job, the more demanding hours that will be for your husband and your father. And we thank you for the way in which you help serve with Matt and serve our country in doing that. Thank you. I've worked together alongside Captain Lake a number of times, as he shared. We first worked together at the University of Maryland, and later when we stood up the small boat product line, when he stood up the small boat product line with Rear Admiral Buck. That was quite an experience. And I realized at that time what a workhorse he was. I'm a slow learner, so it was like the second tour that we'd served together. I've even had the opportunity to follow Captain Lake into a job a couple of times. That can be daunting. Captain Lake leaves a huge impact in whatever job he goes to. Perhaps a marine analogy for this is Captain Lake is like a giant oil tanker or one of those 20,000 container ships that just keep going and going. They're unstoppable. They can't be maneuvered. You're not going to shake them from the course that they're going, and they leave a big wake. Now, it is in this wake that we follow. For those who have any time on the sea, one of the first lessons learned is this: it is advantageous to follow in the wake of a vessel. You can try to ride the path and cut through the water and jump out of that wake, but it's going to be a bumpy ride for you. Captain Lake has charted an outstanding course for Coast Guard Yard, and our future is one of continuity. We will follow the long-term strategic vision and the future that has been set in motion. We will build upon this work because it was established upon a sound and solid foundation. We'll do this by focusing upon our people, carrying out her duties with an unmatched professionalism, and doing all of this with passion. First, the men and women of the Coast Guard Yard made this shipyard what it is. The most critical aspect of the shipyard are the men and women who work here. The knowledge, skills, and experience of our workforce are unique. Ordnance workers, shipfitters, marine coding specialists are tough to find working along our nation's waterways. At one time in Baltimore, it was a bristling location dominated by the shipyard industry. Today, unfortunately, that picture looks very different for the greater Baltimore area. In fact, there is a nationwide shortage of ship repair capacity. Our people are in high demand. This demand will only increase as available ship repair capacity in our nation shrinks. The demand signal is only getting stronger. Therefore, recruiting, training, and maturing our people must remain at the forefront of all Coast Guard Yard activity. Deep connections with local schools will ensure we foster vibrant paths for new employees to enter the Coast Guard Yard family for a lifetime of service. Likewise, we have made great strides, big strides in training, but many opportunities remain. Finally, for employees who have faithfully served for many years, one of the toughest challenges is assisting them in becoming masters of their craft. If every Coast Guard Yard family member is a master craftsman, even the toughest problems will be cracked. Our people must always be the focus. Secondly, Coast Guard Yard must constantly strive to shape and hone our game. We can't rest on our laurels. We can't look back on past successes and conclude the future will be the same. Professionals work constantly at practicing and applying their craft. They know the ins and outs. They know how to get the job done and done well. And I know that you are committed professionals. You've demonstrated this through the large growth in the types of work we have on the waterfront. Ron Vion shared some of those 30-hour work days when there's only 24 hours. They've been able to master that. You've been able to master that. It's also been highlighted today in the award citation Captain Lee was awarded. We heard about it a couple weeks ago when we journeyed to Coast Guard headquarters for the 4th year in a row. We went to Washington, D.C. to see 2 Coast Guard Yard employees recognized as Coast Guard Civilian Employees of the Year. Clearly, you are committed professionals and are recognized as such. And as professionals, there are many complex opportunities before us that require our attention. Here are just a few. We must broadly exercise the cost-plus incentive fee gain-sharing authorities we obtain. We must expand and take on the Mark 38 and Mark 110 gun overhauls. The Navy needs that capacity, depot overhaul capacity here at the Yard. We need to get these guns under contract. We've had success at partnering with SFLC Industrial Operations Division and other DCMS equities, and we must grow these stakeholder relationships to improve our service. A full-time second production shift must become a reality in order to successfully execute the 270 SLAP. We have to do that. And we must systematically and holistically address our facilities infrastructure from a 21st century perspective that takes and considers shipyard production and the benefits of that. By professionally tackling these challenges, as you have others in the past, Coast Guard Yard will be strengthened and ready to meet what lies ahead. Finally, passion. We all need to serve with a clear-minded passion. We need passion because the results we all desire to see can take a long time to realize. We must not become deterred. We must keep our focus on the long-term goal. The hard work each day will pay off and will bring about great results. We need a passion to see these solutions through to the end, even when circumstances look bleak. Here's an example. Remember the 550-foot floating dry dock overage on our waterfront? The historic World War II veteran from the Battle of Leyte Gulf that even taken a kamikaze pilot? Remember how when Eagle finished the final phase of our 4-phase service life extension program, we knew that Oak Ridge needed to go somewhere because there was no work going into Oak Ridge. Many of you worked extremely hard preparing this geriatric dry dock for foreign military sales. We had multiple countries take a look at it. That did not work. That was disappointing. Then we put Oak Ridge out for GSA sale. Through sticking to it, even when one disappointment followed another, we eventually sold Oak Ridge for $1.4 million. Your passion turned a potential $3 or $4 million loss into a $1.4 million gain. Walk our waterfront today. Oak Ridge is gone, and that is passion in action, and that's what we need to do looking forward. We need the same passion to continue working hard against the challenges that face us. Coast Guard Yard has many significant facilities infrastructure challenges. A shiplift expansion project must be completed while simultaneously engaged in vessel service life extensions. How's that for a challenge? The 154-foot fast response cutter haul-out facility, insulated building for blasting and painting must become a reality if the Coast Guard is going to expand the successful recurring depot availability program to this class. This is not easy. And finally, the new offshore patrol cutter is being built. That's going to be built in that. The mainstay of the Coast Guard fleet still needs a studied solution on how Coast Guard Yard will draw and guide these new medium endurance cutters. The correctional lake facilities challenges. Let's turn to software. I have this one in here from Jim Hohen. The implementation of our new depot management software tool has been inching along for a number of years due to competing priorities. Development and implementation of DPOMS is essential to the long-term health of the Coast Guard Yard. Our business and the service will benefit from seeing this reality. Passion is needed because these software solutions can be elusive. We must serve as part of the Coast Guard Yard family with a passion. We must do this because the results we all desire to see can take a long time to realize, and we can lose focus on the long-term goal. The long-term vision and future of the Coast Guard Yard has been set in motion, focusing upon our people, carrying out our duties with unmatched professionalism, and doing this with passion will ensure Coast Guard Yard's continued success. The challenges before us are not easy. The world is dynamic, but by giving people our attention, setting the standard with our professional workmanship, and doing this all with a passion, Coast Guard Yard will recognize the changing conditions and emerging threats. From this position of strength, our strategic vision and course for the future can be adjusted to compensate for any new conditions we may face in our voyage together. It is extremely humbling to be standing before you today. I treasure the opportunity to continue serving at Coast Guard Yard and working alongside you and building upon the great work of those who have gone before us. I look forward to helping to write the next pages of Coast Guard Yard history with you. Thank you. Commander Williams, all standing orders remain in effect.
Roger. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please rise and remain standing for the benediction, the playing of Semper Paratus, and the departure of the official party. Chaplain Kennedy will now deliver the benediction.
Please pray. Eternal Father, strong to save, this has been a significant occasion because we have participated in the change of command for the Coast Guard Yard. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Lord, provide continued success for Captain Lake as he moves to his new assignment. Please also bless Captain Skwarek as he assumes command today. We ask for you to walk closely with all of those who serve at and support the crucial mission of the Coast Guard Yard. In the word of the psalmist, may the Lord give strength to his people. May the Lord bless his people with peace. Amen.
Coast Guard Yard departed. Now, Captain, United States Coast Guard, departed. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's change of command. On behalf of the official party and the men of the United States Coast Guard Yard, thank you for attending our ceremony.
If I could have everyone's attention, we have a few more presentations that need to be made. We obviously have a strong sense of the respect and pride that the Yard has in Captain Matt Lake, and particularly the workforce. And there's some other entities as well that would like to recognize Captain Matt Lake for his faithful service to the Coast Guard Yard as commanding officer over the last 3 years. And then previous, he was actually also the industrial manager. And so Captain Lake has spent a lot of time here at the Yard. So we're gonna, oh, we have him right here. No. I didn't know if you were gonna come up and say something and jump on.
No.
But no, we were really proud to have Captain Lake here. So I'm going to kick it off here with the Coast Guard Yard plaque. For our visitors, this is awarded to everyone who retires or transfers out of the Coast Guard Yard. It has a very nice picture, aerial picture of the Yard so that you can remember the Yard. And I know that Captain Lake will be treasuring this in Coast Guard headquarters. And so it's very difficult for those, maybe for people who are outside here, you kind of came in, my family, maybe other people are traveling in, and you just see that traffic, you hear about the DC traffic, but it really takes a persistence to be able to commute in to Coast Guard headquarters day after day, week after week, month after month. And so we're going to put this up on Captain Lake's wall in his new office, so he has some inspiration to continue doing it and serving all of us out here as well. So, thanks. The next, we're going to have a variety of people come up. The next group I would like to ask to come up will be Mr. Roger Taylor, who will be making a presentation on behalf of the Coast Guard Yard Command.
Keep it short, Roger. I can't keep it short. I try to keep it short, but I can't keep it short. So, anybody moves on from the Coast Guard Yard, usually it's a great thing, but, this is awesome. I might start singing. Anytime somebody leaves the Coast Guard Yard, sometimes it's great, sometimes it's bad, but I got to tell you personally, this is going to hurt me. I love serving under Captain Lake, and I have this really incredible specialized gift that the Executive Steering Committee and the command folks all got together and did, and I would love to tell the story, but nobody tells a story as good as Captain Lake. I do disagree with the tours, though. I do give a better tour of the yard. Captain Lake, this is on behalf of everybody at the in the command staff, and I'm going to have to cut this up, and you might want to tell that story after you.
Maybe give them a hint about what the story's about.
So this has something to do with Bernie Weber. For those who are in the Coast Guard may understand who Bernie Weber was, may understand The Finest Hour, which was a pretty incredible movie, one of the most successful rescues in the Coast Guard history. And Bernie Weber went to boot camp here, and the vessel that Bernie Weber used to rescue 32 or 33 people was constructed here. So this has something to do with that.
You did a great job telling that story, Roger. I promised my kids I wouldn't tell them that story. It's embarrassing.
Well, it's okay.
Oh, wow.
Kids can be embarrassed.
Oh, this is neat.
So in the book, The Finest Hour, there was actually the commanding officer of the yard at the time wrote a letter to, you can read it, actually, go ahead.
Okay. This was written by Captain, thanks, Roger. This was written by Captain Leroy Reinberg, Yard Commanding Officer. And the reason why he's one of my favorite Yard Commanding Officers is because he got to serve from 1939 to 46. Whoa. Longest serving Yard CO. If only I could get that opportunity. But anyway, sorry, Vince. So the letter says, this is the letter that Captain Reinberg wrote to Bernie Weber when he went through boot camp there. He said, recruit, hard jobs are routine in this service. In a way, the Coast Guard is always at war, wartime against armed enemies of the nation, and peacetime against all enemies of mankind at sea, fire, collision, lawlessness, gales, ice, derelicts, and many more. The Coast Guard, therefore, is no place for a quitter, or for a crybaby, or for a lying four-flusher. Look that up on Google. Or anyone who cannot keep his eye on the ball. Your period of recruit training is a time of a test, hour by hour, day by day, to determine whether or not you are made of the right material. It is up to you as an individual to prove your worth. Signed, Captain Leroy Reinberg, Yard Commanding Officer. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Roger, for making that presentation. I'd now like to invite to the podium Captain Cry and Patricia Peruka. I'm sorry. And they're from the city of Baltimore, representing New Era Academy, a school that Captain Lake's been intimately involved with.
Yeah, it's an extreme great pleasure for me to be able to participate in today's program, and also to thank Captain Lake for a lot of things that happened for New Era Academy students. Right now, we have a lot of students that will be spending the summer at the Coast Guard Yard with the Youth Works program, learning a lot of the trades that are offered here at the yard. So, Michael, join me if you will. You want to read this inscription?
Well, I wanted to say a couple of more things about Matt and the program here, as well as the senior leadership here, the supervisors here, the people that work in the yard, because all of you have helped our children from the New Era Academy to learn a little bit about what work is like and what an opportunity it is to work here at the Coast Guard Yard. And it's through the vision and leadership of Matt, first of all, but all the rest of you as well, that we have a program that is successful. But in light of, and we should, by all rights, give one of these to each one of you that has had your hands on the training for our students. But at any rate, we want to give it one recognition to Matt Lake for all he has done. Thank you for your leadership.
And our final presentation will be made by General Foreman Ron Vians. But before I do that, I just want to let Captain Lake know that we ensured that we were following all ethics and legal rules and regulations and policy
Thank you very much,
regarding these trips.
That's very important for my new job especially.
So earlier I didn't get a chance to read my 378 Captain, so I'll now do that. Okay, Captain. Just start over a little. Greetings, I'm not sure if you heard this earlier or not, but what a great day. But every day is a great day at the Coast Guard Yard. Expect a little response, but you guys keep coming around enough, you'll get that feeling. We have one more gift of appreciation to present. However, again, I would like to follow up on some evaluation points not covered earlier. In the wake of momentum as you depart, the yard is 3R compliant and evolving to remain relevant, ready, and responsive. That's a big box to check off, Captain. Giving back to the community, pathway internships, New Era Academy internships, and Arundel Workforce Development Corporation internships, and utilizing local trade schools. That's another box checked off. And it's the right thing to do, a $100 million industry right here, giving back to the community. All right, this next one, I always save something, so here it is. Personal amongst the workforce, the wow factor. So you have a very special rating in this item. I'm going to just say this rating, and then I'll explain it. So in this personable amongst the workforce,
your rating is goosebumps. So now I'll explain. Walking around the yard last week, I had a discussion with a work leader who you've had multiple discussions with. The exact quote from him was, "I get goosebumps when I think about all that Captain Lake has accomplished while he was here." Then he proceeded to hold out his arm on an 88, 90-degree day. And trust but verified, they were there. So impressive. Your rating in this area is goosebumps. It was nice today that you completed, like, you come to the shipyard, it's a lot of times, you think of the shipyard, it's the salt of the earth, and then when you work with the people here, you often see the other sides, the sides them contributing to the community, wrapping Christmas presents and things. So you see the, what's the word I'm looking for? The salt of the sea. You see the softer side of the shipyard workers. And thanks for expressing that today. Captain, this completes your 360-degree waterfront evaluation. All exceeds and 1 goosebumps. And I hope that doesn't get back to headquarters and people occasionally ask you on Fridays, what's a goosebump rating? I want to ask you to please open this last gift of appreciation carefully, though. Don't lift it up. And if you notice the wrapping, that's Baltimore carpet, Curtis Bay carpet, blue. That's what we cover a lot of the decks with the vessels. We want to keep our product line and customers happy. If you could read that first quote, Captain.
I can't read German.
Oh, okay. Let me read that for you. My apologies, but if you're ever playing Jeopardy with Captain Lake, go for anything in German. The original quote is a German quote. Wer nicht vorwärts geht, der kommt zurück. Translation: if you're not going forward, you're going backwards. Captain Lake, you leave the yard. You're going forward, and so is the yard. Thank you.
Everybody can go back to socialize.
Thank you.
Wow.